Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen that when it was first announced I was particularly excited about. And that pen is the Parker 51 Reimagined New Generation 2021. I've seen it listed as a multitude of different things, but it is the new version released earlier this year of the Parker 51, a classic of the fountain pen world. Let's have a look at it. Here it is as it comes packaged, plain cardboard sleeve, or box really, over what is actually quite a nice box here. Parker established 1888, and on the reverse it has by appointment to H.M. the Queen, manufacturers of pens, pencils and inks, Parker Pen Company, Lichfield. Prince of Wales, all that stuff. So it's the royal pen brand, Parker. This particular one is made in France. Okay, let's have a look at it. So we open it up and the pen comes in the simple clamshell box like that. This is the midnight blue finish with the silver cap. This is just the steel nib version, as that is what I got. This pen comes with two ink cartridges that normally sit in the bottom of there, a blue and a black. I have used the black and I have the blue in this pen as we speak. Does not come with a converter, but you can buy that converter separately. Okay, let's have a look at the pen itself. Now, it looks on face value to be very, very similar to the original. Now, I have an original Parker 51, well, not original, but a Parker 51. This is the actual Parker 51, burgundy finish with the steel, I think it's Lustraloy cap, from, I can't exactly remember. And I'm going to show a couple of little differences with these pens as we go. I have to stress right here, this isn't a comparison. I'm not doing a comparison of the two pens. That is unfair. This has a gold nib. It's a beautiful pen. It's a vintage pen. It's got a different filling system, all of that sort of stuff. And but funnily enough, when you buy the two, they come out around the same price if you buy them now, which is kind of unreal when you think about it. Okay, more on that later. The top of the pen has a little metal cone on the top. Now, on the original version, of course, that is where you would get a jewel. This has got like a little pearlescent little thing in the top there. The traditional arrow clip, now the arrow clips have undergone many, many changes over the years. And once again, as you can see on comparing the two, they have a very different feel. The new one having a much more modern sort of shape and aesthetic. The band here, it's a much bigger band, says Parker and then France. And as this is the midnight blue, it's a plastic body down to basically just a rounded end of the pen. Very simple, and that was the point of the Parker 51 when it was first released. The pen was designed to bring fountain pens into a more modern world, and so things like having a hooded nib, all those sorts of things, and even the slip cap. And that is a change into this pen. The slip cap, just removing the cap, pulling it off. This is now a screw cap. It screws off in just over one complete turn, and you still have the hooded nib there, although with a slightly different profile. It's got a little metal band here at the top of the section. The threads, I should say, are smooth and there's no real step down. It's kind of a relatively streamlined looking pen. This is, of course, is where the little band where you used to cap the pen used to sort of sit. You unscrew that and it reveals where you put the cartridge converter. Now, as I said, this is the Parker cartridge that came with the pen. This is the blue one. It's, as far as proprietary cartridges and converters go, Parker sort of does it better than most other brands. They're well made, they hold a good amount of ink, they're pretty decent, and they're not terribly expensive either. I just have this in here because it came with the pen. Of course, the original Parker 51 having the aromatic vac filling little sack, latex sack. I press down a bar and release it and it pulls ink up into the little latex sack. For me, moving to cartridge converter is a much more modern system, of course, and much prone to many less issues. You can see on the bottom of the feed there, it has an M for medium, and as this is the stainless steel nib. These nibs do have, well, this particular one at least, does have a little bit of a sweet spot. It's not stubby at all, which a lot of sort of more stubby nibs tend to have a sweet spot. This one's not that, it's just got a sweet spot in terms of where it's comfortable and smooth to write. You can see it's relatively well aligned in the section, and there's actually a slight little bit of translucence just to that section, which you can't really see under this light. But particularly around the top there, you do get a tiny little bit there. So that's a rundown of the pen. The major differences being, the big differences being the screw cap and the new cartridge converter system as opposed to the aromatic refilling system. Now, I don't know whether the Parker 51 in its later years in the original format went to cartridge converter. If you know that, please put that down in the comments. But you know, having that on this pen in comparison to, say, my original Parker 51 is a big step in terms of the usability of the pen, how easily it cleans, all of those sorts of features which are really nice. Let's do a size comparison now of the Parker 51. And I've just got the Lamy Safari here. You can see they're actually pretty much bang on in terms of length. If I put the old Parker 51 up here as well, because there are a couple of little size differences that we're going to talk about. It's a tiny little bit longer, just a millimeter or two longer, but much on par with the Lamy Safari there. Now, if we uncap them, sorry, you can easily see, of course, that the Lamy Safari is considerably longer. And when posted, that trend continues. So this is a sort of a fairly average size pen. As I said, when the Parker 51 was introduced, it was about simplicity and about modernizing fountain pens, bringing it into basically a ballpoint pen world. And it was such a well-loved and common pen that, you know, it was, I think, the highest selling fountain pen for quite a while, if not still the highest selling fountain pen on the market. And they even sold things like little pocket clips that you could just put in your pocket without actually having a pen, so that people thought you had a Parker pen. Kind of cool little, you know, history that goes along with this model, which I can see why they decided to bring the model back into circulation. Now, let's do the actual specs of this particular pen. Capped, it is 140 millimeters, which in comparison to the original is 139, so 1 millimeter longer there. The interesting thing about this, as you can see, that slip cap there, and it attaches onto that band, as I mentioned earlier. When they are uncapped, the original actually is slightly longer than the new. But when you post the pens, they actually come out to be the same length. So what that tells me is the original Parker 51 obviously posts considerably deeper and more securely. I will say that. The original Parker 51, one of the beauties of it was that feeling in the hand, because that cap posted so nice and deep. The new Parker 51 feels different in the hand when it is, well, in all respects, but when it is posted particularly. It doesn't post as deep, it doesn't feel like it posts as securely either. There's a little bit of sort of like wiggle room in that posting, which doesn't give you the most sense of security with this pen. The other issue is that when we talk about the weight of these pens, now there's only 1 gram difference between the new pen and the old pen, the new pen being 1 gram heavier, but with the original, the balance is all in the body of the pen. The body of the original weighed 13 grams versus 8 in the cap. So when you post the pen, you're not getting a whole lot more weight on the back of the pen, and most of that, because it posts so deeply, sits on the webbing of your hand. Now, the new version weighs 22 grams, 11 in the body and 11 in the cap. And the funny thing about this cap is that a lot of that weight is in the top end here. So when you post it, it actually feels slightly back heavy, which is a shame for a pen like this, which should be an absolutely comfortable everyday writer. Let's do a writing sample now. I've got my Clairefontaine 90 gram paper here. And what we have here is the Parker 51. I'll just put the 2021. This is a medium steel nib. And the ink in this is the Parker blue. I'm assuming it's Parker Quink. Blue, and it's just the cartridge. Now, you can already see, and I didn't go back over, that there were three now, hard starts. We're going to come back to that. This is something that I have an issue with this pen, is that it is prone to some hard starts. But while it is writing, it writes quite nicely. With fast writing, with a lot of it, you're not starving the feed or anything like that. You're just getting, once again, the hard starts. I haven't tuned this nib. I haven't played with this nib. I've done nothing to it. I've literally written with it for the last few weeks. A couple of the two Parker cartridges have gone into this pen, and this has been like this from day one. Reverse writing is actually okay. It's not particularly smooth. The pen, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the smoothest pen. There is a bit of feedback, and it's not just like a rough feedback. It's certainly not scratchy. It's not a rough feedback. It's just sort of more a draggy feedback, emulating the right-handed sort of motion. You just feel it sort of on the page. It's also not the wettest pen. Like, I wouldn't say it's a dry pen, but it's certainly not like putting down heaps and heaps of ink, which can sometimes also make the pen feel a little less lubricated on the page. It is a very stiff nib. I wouldn't push this. I think you'd actually potentially even break the pen if you push this too hard. So, as I said, this isn't a comparison with the original Parker 51. This is the steel nib version. There is a gold nib version available, which is considerably more expensive. But as far as steel nibbed pens of this style go, you're spending a lot of money for this pen when there are a lot of knockoffs that actually, in my opinion, write considerably better. Let's talk some pros and cons now for the Parker 51 2021 edition. Firstly, after the writing sample, the big issue I have with this pen, and it may be this particular one, but that's all I can review. I have this pen in my hand, and the issue I have with this is the hard starts. It's not the most reliable writer. Once it gets going, most of the time, it writes quite well. We saw that in the writing sample. But you do get the hard starts. If you give it more than a couple of seconds, you do get a hard start. And, you know, the nib and the feed are all nicely lined up, and I don't think it's necessarily drying out. I had a look at it under a loupe. There's no massive obvious issues with the nib. It's just one of those things that sort of happens. You could definitely get it tuned. I could have a go at it myself and probably have quite a lovely pen, but I like to review the things as I get them, of course. The next issue I have is the balance of the pen. Unposted, it's quite fine. Not a particularly big pen, but it's not designed to be. And because that section, which is about 10 millimeters in the middle there, is quite a comfortable section, and there's no particular obvious place to hold it. You can hold it back on the threads, which, as I said, aren't particularly sharp or anything. If you want to hold it down, you can, but I tend to hold it back, sort of using the threads as part of my grip. That's still quite comfortable in my hand. That's how I prefer to write with this, because, as I said, when it is posted, the balance of the pen is way back, and it feels like there should be more weight leading down to the nib on a pen like this. So the balance I find a little off. Another thing I want to talk about here is the price of this pen. Now, this pen is not yet officially sold in Australia. So the pricing I have is the US pricing, and I looked at a couple of different retailers, and depending on where you go, you're sort of looking roughly $85 to $90 for the pen. Is it worth it? Well, on a good day, you can get a nice Parker 51 original for that much, or considerably less if you're having a particularly good day. And these come with like a gold nib, and there's some history to them, and a few of these issues are sort of fixed up. So $85 to $90 for this pen, I think, is pushing it. There are a number of knockoffs of this pen. Hero have done it, Wing Sung have done it, Jinhao have done it. A bunch of brands have made pens that are reminiscent in a number of ways of this pen. So putting the price for a steel nib on a plastic pen with a simple metal cap for $85 to $90 with no special filling system, that's, in my opinion, that's definitely pushing it. Now, I talk about the filling system, and I'm going to put that as a pro and a con. The con in that respect is that it is proprietary. You cannot get standard international cartridges or convert. They will not fit in this pen. Parker, as I said, do them well. So, if you're getting the Parker, you're going to get a good product. The reason why that is also a pro in my book is because cartridge converter is easy to clean. It's simple. It's, if you run out of ink and using a cartridge, you run out of ink when you're out and about, you put a new cartridge in. Parker cartridges are available everywhere. In Australia, Officeworks stock them. In the UK, WH Smith stock them. We are talking about a widely available, brand here. So that is a pro as well in that respect. Another pro is the fact that it harkens back to a famous pen. There's a nice sort of history, lineage to the pen. It's a nice, simple design. It always has been. I think some people will take the screw cap as a pro or a con as well. I put it in neutral territory. I don't mind that it's a screw cap. There's a security to that, like it's not going to come off in your pocket, or if you put it in a pen case, it's not going to come loose, things like that. But there was also a convenience, a nice ease to the original, and that was part of the thing with these pens, as I said, was to have something that was, convenient and easy. And having that simple little cap, so nice and simple. So pro and a con. So to sum it up, I think it's an okay pen. I do not think necessarily it's at its optimal price point. I think you knock $20 off this pen, it becomes a lot more attractive. Perhaps fix a few issues with the nib. Just get the details right. Parker makes some wonderful pens. The vintage pens are great, of course. There's a number of sort of entry-level pens, like the Urban or the Vector, things like that, that are absolutely fine. The Sonnet is a beautiful fountain pen. The Duofold, my Centennial, is one of my favourite pens. So, but Parker seem to sort of have their budget line pens, which I put in the sub $100 mark for Parker, and none of them are quite, like, there are issues, and it's quality control. It's just not what it used to be. And so I would like to see them fix a few of those things, and then maybe, sort of introduce the next iteration of this pen onto the market, because I think it's a great pen model to have out. I just think that there are a few flaws with this that I think could easily be fixed by Parker. And as I said, knocking $20 off the price isn't going to hurt anybody. So this was my review of the Parker 51, the 2021 edition. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can hit the notifications button to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.